Strap yourself in,
because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
You are watching and listening to Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and your favourite podcasts. Leicester Till I Die TV, your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here. Now be sure to watch Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV by subscribing on YouTube and following them on social media for all the latest Leicester City news and information. Come on, you foxes!
Are you ready? I'm saying, are you ready? Right, Chris.
No. Good evening. How the devil are you all, fellow Fox fans? Are you all right? I'm not. Those of you that will, or those of you that saw the post-match show last night, let me put it this way, I haven't really taken a gap. I'm probably as pissed off as I was last night, which was on a rate of 1 to 10. I was probably up to 15. You know when they say count to 1 to 10 and you'll calm down? Well, I'm still counting. What a game. This is Leicester Till I Die TV. You can get us on Facebook, Leicester Till I Die, the group, Twitter at Leicester TID, and of course on YouTube you can get us on Leicester Till I Die TV, and please give that subscribe button a click, and if you're very, very kind and would like to donate, that little $sign at the bottom. And don't forget, of course, if you prefer to listen to me rather than look at me, and I don't blame you at all for that, you can get us across all the main podcast platforms: Amazon, Spotify, Apple iTunes, Google, Podcast Addict, and Anchor, to name but 6. This is Leicester Till I Die. Good evening.
It's the Opposition Show with Chris on Leicester Till I Die TV. Taking a look back at the game.
Yeah, I wish I didn't have to, but unfortunately we do. Contractually obliged to. So, we went to a team yesterday that hadn't beaten us in the Premier League, and in my opinion, shouldn't have beaten us yesterday. Not saying we should have beaten them either, because they turned up, they played very well. They gave us a good game. I thought for the first 10 minutes, we were passing the ball around nicely, and I could only see one result. And then Brighton came into it, and they were pressing us, and they deserved something from the game. And I don't mind losing. Winning and losing is all part of the game. on a level playing field. And what we don't have with VAR at the moment is a level playing field. And yes, all right, I know what you're saying. These things level themselves out over a season. We used to say that about the refs, didn't we? And then at least it was human error. Now they've got all these machines, all these camera angles, and they're still fucking it up. You know, I mean, I said this earlier, and I think I'm right here. VAR, is it fit for purpose, or is it just operated by tools? Well, in fairness, tools are useful. The guys that sit at Rockley Park, that's a caravan park around the corner from me, Stockley Park. Having said that, they might be better off at bloody Rockley Park, cleaning up the mess that the tourists leave. But you know what? What are they doing? What are they doing? I mean, they make not only our game, Man United as well, apparently. Now, I didn't see the game, but if you see the news, you see the headlines, Man United fans not happy either with VAR and the refereeing. I mean, years ago, I said we used to blame the refs. We brought in VAR. So I don't, I can see VAR. I wanted VAR. I was a fan of VAR. I said, let's get it in. But do you know what? We need it to be operated by professionals. Now, we've got people here, and people say, well, we employ the refs now, they're professionals. No, they're not. They're bloody useless. And let's name them. Stuart Atwell, the referee. Assistants, Dan Cook and Simon Long. I'm not sure which one it was on that side, but maybe he needs to cook off and take a long walk off a short pier. Fourth official, Graham Scott. Why do we have the fourth officials? They just stand there to hold the board up, or in case one of them sprains a finger. VAR, Peter Banks, and we all know that Banks is spelt wrong there. And assistant VAR, Wade Smith. I said yesterday, we should have ex-players in. Forget the players that are in the Premier League, the well-known ones. They go on to work for BT, for Sky, your local newspapers. But those players that are down in the lower leagues haven't got any chance of carrying on or being in sport in that way. They could easily go and do that job. And I'll tell you why later. Because did anybody watch Match of the Day 2 last night? Because you had two ex-professionals there, Dion Dublin and Alan Shearer. And you know what? This is what VAR said. Would if it came up. PL Chiefs thrilled with VAR despite controversy with United and Leicester fuming. Well, if they're thrilled with it, maybe they need to get out more. Maybe they need to get rid of the wives and get some prostitutes, because the wives aren't obviously thrilling them that well if that's how happy they get. And they're just, Alan Shearer here, fumes at VAR for awarding Brighton penalty against Leicester and rages that shouldn't be allowed. Ex-professionals can see it. Ex-professionals on a TV programme that are seeing the same cameras, the same pictures that VAR are seeing, can see it. And that's why we should have ex-pros and not these wankers that are sat at Rockley Park making these god-awful decisions. I'm sorry, but we need professionals, and we don't have professionals running in the Referees Association. I actually emailed the Referees Association earlier on, and I said, on my show tonight, I'll be highlighting the abysmal standard of refereeing, assistant refereeing, and VAR refereeing for yesterday's game. I would like to invite a representative of the refereeing body onto the show to explain to me and my viewers the decisions made during yesterday's game. And you know what? Yeah, you're quite right. I didn't hear. It was Leicester Brighton, and we're going to welcome Russell in straight after this. Thank you for being so patient and waiting there, Russell. Well, I had a little bit of a rant.
Yes, you did, didn't you? I can't think why. Yes, thank you for having me on the show, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm sure it is more of a pleasure for you than it is for me. Since I've swapped to do it, I used to do these as preview shows where we'd look forward to the game, and now I think it's a bit more fun to look back on the games. But maybe after tonight, I won't be thinking that. Let's just say a few hellos, Almighty Blues. Ankit, how the devil are you, sir? Good evening. Facebook user. Stick your name at the end if you're not signed into StreamYard, because I don't know who you are, but good evening. Terry Payne, hi Chris, I'm with you. Mega peed off, and I've been since the get. Good. I'm glad at least I've got one person that agrees with me. West Ham United, hi Chris, how are you? Don't ask me that. Don't ask me that. Rob McFarlane, hi Chris. Tours have never played the game, so not surprising they messed up. My point exactly. My point exactly. Terry Payne, for the handball, he gave a corner, assistant gave the pen. Why the feck did he not go and look at the monitor? Vestergaard and Casper told him what happened. Because they are tools. They are not fit for purpose. It's as simple as that. Just proves how bad the English refs are. Yeah, I mean, we had a bad referee. They were saying when we played, who did we play? Napoli. In the Europa League. So I'm trying to forget that. And our referee then, Russell, was the referee was awful. He was sponsored by Clinton's, And somebody said to me, wouldn't you like that standard of ref in the Premier League? I actually would now say yes, because he's better than the standard of referees that we have. Matthew, good evening, sir. How the devil are you? Whereabouts are you? Have you sort of driven over the channel into France trying to hide from all the controversy? Tell you what, overall, though, it was a pretty even game. And what gets me is, and I'm not saying that had these decisions all gone our way, we would have won the game, because I think, no, it would have been 1-1. But you must be, you've obviously got to be happy with your start and the way your season's going so far. And you've beaten us for the first time in the Premier League.
Yeah, just got Chelsea to go now in terms of top flight teams to beat. We're very pleased to have beaten you guys. I mean, we felt, because of what you've just said, the record against you, for us, it was a massive win. We were absolutely delighted, notwithstanding the decisions, but we were delighted in general to get the win, because you've been a real bogey team, certainly in the top flight era anyway. I thought it was a great game. I think you guys... What we do, we tend to freeze against you. I think that's what's happened, and we haven't necessarily done that against any of the other bigger sides in the current era in the Premier League. And we tend to freeze, and it seemed like we did the same in the first 10 minutes of this match, 10, maybe 11, 12 minutes. We were far, far the better side. We were allowing James Maddison to have a lot of the ball. Barnes had the potential to be dangerous on the left. We were giving him a bit of space, and it felt like you were going to be able to cut through us. And then what happened was we effectively did have a game of two halves, but it was bookended by you. So we had the bit from sort of 10, 11, 12 minutes in.
You were the cream in the middle of our sponge, as they say.
just before the hour, I think, was when you started to step up. And then, of course, very shortly after that, Vardy got the goal, which is a brilliant goal, by the way. Really impressive, that. Brilliant team goal. And we were getting nervous from that point on. And obviously, it was all you guys from there on in, barring some good defending from us, pretty much. Yeah. But also, of course, the controversy, which I've got a feeling we may be discussing in a bit more detail, Chris.
We might be. We might be. As soon as you've brought it up, I wasn't going to mention it at all, but you've brought it up. First of all, you mentioned Jamie Vardy there. Congratulations. That was his 150th goal for Leicester in all competitions. He is now fourth. He's six behind Ernie Hine. He's got 100 to go yet to catch up with Arthur Rowley. But I tell you what, who would bet against him? Who would bet against him? But like you said, that first 10 minutes, I can remember messaging my friend saying, we're looking like Brazil here. We were passing it around. And I don't think in that first 10 minutes, you hardly crossed the halfway line. And then you sort of seem to get a belief in yourselves.
Yeah, and then we were playing a bit more like we normally do in the Premier League, both in terms of the previous seasons with passing game, but also in terms of the more direct and slightly more snappier in the attack that we haven't really done until this season. We've got a bit more confidence on a bit more of a consistent basis, and we were really getting at you guys. And obviously, the goals came during that period. The first one, the controversy attached. The second one, just a good header from Danny Welbeck from some good chasing down, leading to a free kick that initially started that. And we were pleased with the way we were playing. I don't actually think we've done anything different this season to last, apart from create less in the XG stakes, but be more clinical with the shooting. That's the only difference. And we've had more luck on our side, which obviously, but again, we'll talk about yesterday's game in a minute. But in terms of the season as a whole, we've had the breaks. That is to say, we've not had bad decisions go against us, apart from Burnley in the first game, where for some reason Tarkowski, doing a probably more exaggerated version of what Morpay did on Sunday. He was sort of just tugging our guy to the ground. The goalie was barged into the goal, and the referee waved it through. So, and luckily for us, that was inconsequential because we won the game anyway, 2-1. Yeah. But apart from that, we've decisions. I don't think there's been many controversial decisions before yesterday. But ultimately, the point is we haven't had bad ones go against us, which by this stage of last season we already had.
I think, if anything, Brighton are actually proving that I really know nothing about football whatsoever, because I had, and I think I mentioned this because I did a podcast for yourself, and as I say, it is you are on Twitter at Brighton Rock Pod. You do a podcast. I apologise because I went off on my rant, and we will mention this again at the end, but how can people find your podcast?
Yeah, well, it's on all the usual typical available platforms for podcasting, so Spotify, Apple, it's on Google, all the other smaller ones as well. And yeah, we do it either once or twice a week, depending. Sometimes we do match day specials as well. But there's always a review show. In fact, I'm doing mine tonight after this, so I shall pass on your feedback and when we start our one.
Yes, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. And thank you. Thank you very much for having me on the other night when we previewed the game, and I was a lot happier than I was than I am now, so to speak.
Yeah. No, thanks for coming on. It was really good fun having you on. Actually, it was really good.
It was nice to come on and not having to worry about doing any makeup because it was purely recorded. But that's just something I like to do at the weekends. We won't go into that. Terry, good evening, Terry. What goes around comes around. I don't think Russell's gloating at all, to be honest with you, because on the podcast you were saying that we could both kind of see a draw or a tight win either way. But like I said, I had Brighton literally to struggle this season. I just didn't get what all the fuss was about with Graham Potter. He was being linked with all these top managerial jobs, and Brighton was sort of this wonderful team that are having all these shots, and I just didn't get it. And I say I had you down possibly for being in the relegation battle again this season. No, you've proved me wrong.
Chris. No, I mean we talked about decisions, and this thing about evening out, like evening itself out. I have to say comprehensively that's absolute bollocks. That never happens, because the probability of that happening exactly is very limited indeed. Yes. And you look at just one marginal decision can make the difference for a team, making Europe or not, or getting relegated or not, or promoted or whatever it is. And last season, I did an experiment. I calculated decisions. In all fairness as well, I wasn't getting too kind of rosy spectacled about it. Decisions for and against we had last season, and I think we had two notable game changers in our favour, and I think we had 12, arguably 13 against us. So we were something like a -11 on the evening out stakes, and I think that was a bit unusually disparaging, but it wasn't a typical evening out of sorts. But it showed how bad we were luck-wise with decisions, and I'm not. That's not just sour grapes. That were genuine decisions, crazy decisions, lots of it to do with VAR. And we had the XG, which I mentioned, and that was never going to stay like that season on season. We were either going to not create as much and then not be able to be clinical, or we were going to improve on what we've done. And I think that, plus not having shit decisions against us, is the reason we're now doing what I think we should be doing, which is getting into the top half, which I don't know if we'll be there at the end of the season. Obviously, we are at the moment. Yes, I think our total of points is a little bit of a misleader. That's not where we're going to finish, is it, at the end of the season, 4th place?
No, you never know. You never know.
But we could finish top 7 or 8 with the way that Potter plays, and Graham's a great manager. He's flexible with his tactics. It's really hard to work out what he's going to do, and that's us. Never mind the opposition, who have only seen him once or twice a year. And I think we're going to move upwards. I think we've improved our squad, oddly, because we've sold White, who I know there's a lot of fuss made about him with Arsenal, but he is a very good player actually, and he's been playing in a 3 for us at the back, and it's really benefited us. What we were worried about was losing him. Were we going to have disruption? But actually, Duffy's come back, and for some reason, he's turned into a world-beating centre-back again, even better than he was when he was first with us before his loan to Celtic, which was a disaster. So we've managed to, despite selling White, we've managed to improve the back line and the general balance of the team. Even though we've got a couple of injuries, Tariq Lamptey's still not back. We've now got Adam Webster out. He's a cracking centre-back, and he's a driving run kind of centre-back as well as a really good defender. And we've managed to, to somehow even out our balance within the team. Yeah. And the other difference is we're managing to score goals. I think our ratio of shots to goals scored is a lot better than last season so far.
Yeah, I mean, Terry just says here in the chat whether you, having done that, whether you want VAR scrapped or whether you would want to keep it. I mean, personally, I was all for VAR because when you look at tennis with Hawkeye, yes, it had the problems, and who can ever forget this with tennis?
Man. You cannot be serious.
We know how bad that was at the start, but that's kind of eased in. Ours just doesn't ease in. We're still talking about VAR 3, seasons or whatever, in 4 seasons in, and we shouldn't be. We should be having the conversation now about the match, about how well you played, and you did dominate a part. Like I said, you were the cream in the sandwich, if you like. But for those that period, you were the dominant team. You were on top, and that's what we should be talking about. But we keep coming back to, and the problem is these days is that decisions that are made can cost a club so much more money. And I get what Terry's saying, that you can say these things balance out, and we got it in our favour in the Norwich match, and we got it in our favour in the FA Cup final. Well, let Norwich moan about those decisions because that didn't, affect us. But, I can remember Bournemouth going down and Aston Villa staying up by 1 point because the ball didn't ring a bell when it went over the line. How much money did that cost Bournemouth in going down? And when you look at these decisions, and let's take we did mention we were going to look at the decisions, and seeing as you brought it up earlier, let's have a look at it. I mean, let me just get that was the offside. Let me just find the penalty. Here where are we? Here we go. I can't read my own notes now. That was, he was holding his arms back. And there's another picture which I haven't got, unfortunately, but they showed it on BBC Match of the Day 2 last night. If that was given against, and this is the way I always judge something, if that was given against Brighton, would you be fuming?
In a word, yes. From my opinion on that first decision is, at the time, I was at the far end of the ground down the side, and you could see the handball from right the way over, because obviously he's a big lad to start with, and his hand was right up in the air. So I thought, that's definitely a penalty. There was a discussion. We thought, they've given it. Great, seems fine. Didn't see the replays, obviously, because I'm in the stadium. We get the least view of anyone in that regard. So I thought, fine. But having seen it back on Match of the Day 2, quite obviously there was a foul which I had no idea about from that far away, where he's clearly pulling him. And I do think that some Albion fans, friends of mine, quite a few, in fact, some of them coming on the pod have said, well, that arm's in an unnatural position. Even if you're being fouled, the arm doesn't have to go up so high. And I think there's probably some point to that. But the greater point is it was a foul before the handball physically happened. So it should have been a free kick to Leicester on that particular occasion. The only thing I'll say against that is, earlier, Burnley, we got a decision where Tarkowski scores a goal against us, and he's completely and utterly fouled, far more than Morpay did, to win it. And again, you've got to question VAR. I do think VAR, the system itself is fine because it's just showing you stuff. Nothing wrong with that. It's the administration of it, the use of it has been the problem. I think it's been improved this year because they've taken away a lot of the delay, or it seems like they have, the fiddling around with screens and different bits of information there or not there for games, and the offside thing, from what they've said, has been improved. However, there's still human error or human bias or whatever it is still going on, and we had that for Burnley. Norwich will say they had that in that game. You guys obviously had it yesterday. It's not perfect yet, is it? But that's the human side of it. That's not the actual system.
This is
showing you what
this
there
is the point I made on my show last night, and Nick there saying it all sounds like sour grapes. It's not, because if you'd listened to what I'd said at the start of the show, had the VAR decisions gone the way that they probably should have done, it would have ended up 1-1. We wouldn't have won the game. We're not saying we should have won the game.
Yeah, I mean, the ref gave a corner for that first one, didn't he?
Did. I mean,
so he got it wrong completely.
Yeah. Yes, DJ Nick, we did have the same arguments before, and I was one in favour of bringing in VAR, but how can I put this? It's no good having a Ferrari if you haven't got a driving license, because you've got a thing of beauty there that's going to be lovely to drive, and you can't drive it. Now, what I was saying is that VAR is good, but as you just said then, Russell, it's the human element of it. We used to have referees that were amateur. They'd run butcher shops or whatever the rest of the time. We made them professional, but you've still got the same, butchers, bakers, candlestick makers. We're just paying them more to do it now, and yes, we're giving them training. But what I'm saying is, and the guy, the Mr. Banks at Rockley Park, he should be he's got to look at it because it's a penalty. So his instructions are, any decision like that, you look at whether the referee asked or not. The referee gave it as a corner. The linesman, who can't see probably through 3 or 4 players at the foul, said it was a penalty. So why isn't this Banks guy opening his gob and shouting to the referee, "Oi, hang on a minute, go and look at the monitor and see what you think"? Now, this is what I'm saying, is that on Match of the Day yesterday, we had 2 ex-professional footballers, Dion Dublin, Alan Shearer. As part of Match of the Day and working for the BBC, they get access to the same cameras that the PMOGL or whatever it is at Rockley Park get. They all use the TV cameras. And they could see it's not a fact that it wasn't a penalty because they are ex-professional footballers. Now, like I say, Dion Dublin, he's got a very nice contract with Homes Under the Hammer and Match of the Day and all this, and he's not going to want to. But some guy that's just been playing 20-odd years for Lincoln or Oldham or Rochdale suddenly hasn't got a career at the end of that within football, would, I am sure, love to still be part of that. And it should be those guys that are running VAR. VAR in itself is the right way forward. We just need the right people. And I think ex-professional footballer.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on. And the idea about it being lower league ones is a good one, because they're less likely to have other opportunities within the game. And maybe, you give them some training and some recaps on the rules and updates on the rules and all that stuff, obviously. But aside from that, I think it's a great idea, because for me, I mean, we had a raw deal decision with the Burnley one, and then we get this and we think, oh, that evens out. Well, it doesn't, because that's no good to you guys, is it? And whether or not we're competing in similar positions in the table or not, that's still not going to be any use to you, is it? The fact that we're getting our balance, which I don't think happens anyway over a season. But I agree. I think VAR is fine, but it's got to be used properly, and I don't think it was there. As I said, the ref gave a corner. Okay, the lino then waves him over and goes, "Look, I've seen a handball. Fair enough, fine. He hasn't seen the foul, whatever, fine." But then, I don't understand why the ref isn't then having a look at the monitor on the basis of, as you said, Mr. Banks, saying, "Well, you might want to have a look at this, just see if there's anything else you can see in the screen." Doesn't even have to say what it is. Just say, have a look, see if there's anything else you think relevant here, because I think the changes, they were pretty much putting the onus on the ref to change their minds whenever they went to look at the monitor before. And it seems to be a bit of a sea change this season, that it's more about just keeping a completely flexible option open. However, if that ref had gone and seen that, he'd see what we saw, that it was a foul first.
But do you not think as well that if, as a referee, I've made that decision, I've given the corner, and I go over and my colleague, the linesman, says, I saw a handball, then there's doubt, because you've got two people with different opinions.
Yeah.
How can you say one's right and one's not? You've got this VAR, and if we didn't have VAR, we'd all be screaming, "Oh, the referee's made a bad decision." But it's human error, and there's nothing you can do about human error. But this VAR is supposed to be the answer to all our dreams on this sort of thing. Why not go and use it? It takes less time to go and look at that as it does of some European import rolling about 10 times on the floor because somebody's farted at him as he's run past.
Absolutely, yeah, and so I feel sympathy certainly with you guys for that penalty decision, because whatever else we talk about, that's clear cut for me. There's a debate about how much fouling is allowed with it, because it happens all the time at all sorts of corners, doesn't it? And we had I can't remember what it was. There was another game I was watching the other day where there was it's on the Ivan Toney thing, because he was blatantly fouling him, got away with it. So what's he do? Stupidly does the same thing again. Quite right, he gets the foul. But what's the difference? And where do you draw the line in how much pulling and tugging is allowed? That's the only question. But I do think that was a foul. Whether they don't think it is a foul, if they actually saw it and thought it wasn't a foul, because they're giving more leeway, which apparently there is something about that, isn't there, this season?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they would do. Maybe they did see it and said, no, that's fine. But I personally don't, as a football fan, think that was fine.
Yeah. In fairness, though, when we won the Premier League that season, we were our antics in the box were pretty, almost like WWE. Huth and Morgan would but different times, and we did get caught out a couple of times and had penalties given against us. Mike Dean wouldn't have turned it over. What somebody said here is, and I'm going back to DJ Nick here, until referees become accountable and have to explain their decisions, we'll always have this problem. I mean, as I say, I emailed the Referee Association saying, do you want to come on? I kind of knew they wouldn't, but the opportunity was there for somebody to come on and put their side, but they won't. They'll go back and hide, behind their screens and what have you. DJ Nick here says, why not implement changes like tennis? Tennis have the challenges. Cricket have the challenges. But then, as I say, I still say it goes back that if the guy at VAR was doing his job, we wouldn't have to worry about these options. And we need ex-footballers in there doing that. Probably, Terry apologises to you. He's all right, Terry. He's all right. That said, second half, we came out and we do what we normally do just before half-time or just after half-time is usually a good time to get Leicester, because we're either just getting ready for our cup of tea or the cup of tea's not worked its way through the system yet. And Danny Welbeck, who loves getting a goal against us from free kicks, popped up. Lovely header.
Yeah, we're very pleased with that. He's obviously he's got his injury worries. He's come in, and we know we're only going to get a certain amount out of him. It's more a case of managing him rather than him having had injury problems so far. Yeah. But we're very pleased. And if he can play his part, he's not going to be starting every game, but he started the last couple, and I thought he looked a bit flaky in the last match. I thought he had a good game yesterday. A number of our players had really good games, and he took his chance well. Yeah, really good free kick, good header.
Indeed. So that was 2-0, and I'm sort of swearing and throwing myself around, thinking what's gone on here. Can we not just have those 10 minutes at the start again? But it kind of, we'd made the change at half-time. Maddison had come off and Lookman had come on. And to be honest with you, and I know we've only got Lookman on loan, but I'm a bit worried about saying how good he is, because I said this about Genghis Under after 3 or 4 games, and that was his peak. He went downhill from that point on. But Lookman, he really caused you some problems.
Yeah, he's a good player. I've always liked Lookman. I think it was Charlton who was out at one point, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Right back when, and he's done well. I think probably not as well as he could have done at Fulham, although he looked good. Obviously, he didn't get too much joy because they weren't having a great season. But he's gone abroad as well, and I think he's an interesting player. He's a good player, talented. Good signing. I think he's a very good signing. And
I am looking forward. I hope we can tie him. Well, if he carries this on, I think I'm pretty much certain we're going to sign him full time, as they say. We then came to the offsides because we were throwing the kitchen sink at you, and
this is after the goal, obviously.
This is after the goal. We sort of came back into it. We woke up and made a couple of substitutions and started to play again. But this one, I've got to concede to you. I can understand why this one was given. Yeah, because you can see as he's taking the shot there, Barnes, it is blocked. I mean, if he wasn't offside, then it wouldn't make any difference whether he was blocking him or not. And this is very similar to the Norwich one against us when Norwich scored and it wasn't given. I can understand that one being given.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is, ironically, it's almost a defensive play that's been backfired here, because from what I'm hearing, Sanchez, Brendan Rodgers had a worry about the threat of him claiming. He's brilliant claiming the ball. He's got a great goalie, Sanchez. And obviously the threat of a very quick counter-attack, his distribution's good as well. There was actually a genuine danger for the counter-attack. So as much as anything, I think Barnes has put in there to look at the possible dangers of that rather than the actual attack itself, ironically. I think this one was the right decision, because there is an element of interference with play there. He's partly in his sight line. If the ball does go his way and there's a flick or something like that, he could redirect it into the goal. Whether rightly or wrongly, whether he's onside or not, Sanchez doesn't know, A, if he is offside or not necessarily, and B, even if he does, he can't assume that the officials are going to give the decision. So he is therefore worrying about that player's presence. And I do think on that basis, that one was the right decision. I can see why you could argue either way on it, but I do think the remit from the refs and things I've heard, it sounds like that is the sort of decision. The general stipulation is they will call that offside, and I think that's quite similar to that Norwich goal, isn't it, that we were talking about earlier? That's a similar thing.
I will allow, and I think a lot of the time you have to look at the reaction of the players on the pitch. You know, when a player goes down, and you know the ones that are going to dive and the ones that are going to do 20 somersaults, and end up at the corner flag. But you also know those that, quite often, if they're not foul, will be getting up to carry on as if it was a normal thing. And this was mentioned on Match of the Day 2 last night, was that Sanchez, your goalie, for the first goal was going mad and really getting, annoyed because it was offside. It was blocked. But for the second goal, nothing. The second offside, sorry, I should say. Nothing. He was picking the ball up to kick it into the stands in frustration. And I said, if you look at it here, again, VAR, what part of Barnes is in front of Sanchez there?
I think what this is a diluted version of the previous scenario, in that he's still in an offside position. He's jostling with the goalie before this shot. So I think there's some interplay from an offside position, which may or may not have affected what happens next. But I think that what you've now got is you've got much greyer area in terms of the decision being given as offside, because he's interfering, potentially he's in his eye line, whatever. However, that's clearly not as affecting or potentially affecting as the earlier offside decision. So I think that one, I'm not sure about that one. I would definitely be pissed off if that was disallowed at the other end of the field.
I think there's a picture going around of either a Liverpool or a Man United goal in pretty much similar situations when it was given. But this is the thing. Like I say, I always, when I look at something, say, was it a penalty? Wasn't it a penalty? I would be thinking, would I be shouting for that if it was the other way? And I've got to say, be honest with you, I don't think the penalty was a penalty. Your second goal was a great goal. Can't argue with that at all. Vardy's goal was superb, like you say, superb. And that's the frustrating thing with Leicester, because we can do moves like that, and Tielemans just clip into the box. It was amazing. It was, if they could do that for 90 minutes, we'd be champions of Europe. The first goal offside, yeah, I would have to concede that probably was. The second one, I think it wasn't, and I think had we come out of that with a draw, I think both teams would have had to say fair enough, But what I noticed during the game was that first 10 minutes we had 75% possession, we were all over you. Then the next, so it almost went completely round, and then the game ended up, we had more goal attempts. Problem was, we had 14 goal attempts, only 21% on target. You had 12 with 42%. And I know stats don't tell you anything, but I think you're going to have a good season.
Yeah, I think so. I think the funny thing with us with possession is we've been a ball-playing side for traditionally in the past, and also again under since Gus Poyet, we've generally been a possession-based team and got gradually better in terms of the way we were playing. But what we tended to find was when we dominated possession, which was in most matches, or not most matches, but a lot of matches, we'd lose or not quite get as much out of the game as we should have done. And we ended up being better, actually, when we had less possession, and we did our business in the counter-attacking. And what we've done under Graham Potter from the latter part of last season and definitely into this season is that we're actually now dominating games possession-wise and getting the results, which is the difference. Interestingly here, 37% we had over the course of the 90 minutes plus stoppages, which is very different to our usual stats. And so, it's unusual to be dominated possession-wise. And I think we did the same to Brentford last week. They were used to having the percentage the majority of the percentage of possession, but we had the majority of it in that match. And I think that tied them out in the last 15 minutes. So this game, maybe it's something similar. We were backs against the wall for that reason. What I do think is we're much better at grinding out results, managing games. I know there was a possibility we could have lost that game if two decisions had gone another way, and certainly could have been a draw. But we are generally managing games a lot better. The difference with Leicester, with the other games that we've managed before, is that Leicester are a much better team, quite frankly, than Watford and Burnley, and with all respect to them, because I do like them, Brentford as well. Everton did play very well against us, and we didn't turn up. You guys played well, but we did turn up, and it was a close game. But I do think we're able to grind out results now, which is a big difference for us. So I agree with you. I think we will do well. Where we'll finish, I've got no idea.
Well, you're sitting very nicely in fourth at the moment. And you look at that and, you 1-1, lost 1-1, and you got Palace up next, which isn't going to be the most difficult games. Again, I shot myself in the foot because I did say, in fairness with Brighton, that you hadn't really played anybody, any of the big boys. You played, let's have a look. You beat Burnley on the first day. You beat Watford. You lost to Everton. I suppose they could be classed as quite big. But then you beat Brentford, and then obviously you beat us. But the thing is with Leicester, and you've got 12 points there. You've got twice as many as we've got, and we've played Wolves, West Ham, Man City, Norwich, and yourselves. And no disrespect, it's an easy start for us, and yet we're making it hard for ourselves.
Yeah,
that's the worrying bit, is when it gets harder, how are we going to get on then?
Yeah, for us, we've started getting results against you just listed the teams there, and ironically, Everton is the team at home. We've got the hex over. They've not beaten us until that game at home. A different story away, but the other games, Burnley, Watford, and Brentford, those are the sort of games we would draw when we should win, or we'd lose when we should have drawn. And we're putting that right this season. The good thing for us is that we've, when we're playing the better teams, we've got some good results. And this season, so far, the best team we played, I think, is you guys. I think, well, arguably Everton were very good as well, actually, on the day. Because we didn't play well, it's hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
But you guys are probably the best team we played, and yet we've managed to get a result against one of the big teams, whatever you want to call it. So we're doing both so far. That's the difference. Whether we'll keep doing that, I don't know. But as long as we beat bloody Palace on Monday next week, I'll be happy. They are overdue. I am telling you what. But I don't know if you followed what we had last season. They got 4 points off us. Ridiculous penalty decision, and we managed to claw it back for a draw. But they were nothing in the game, and we ended up with a draw. And the second match, as you might have seen, they had 2 shots on goal, and including bloody Benteke gets a worldie for the first and only time in his Palace career, overpaid Palace career. And they get the winner, and they beat us 2-1, and they only had 2 shots on goal. They did it against West Ham this season as well. So they are overdue. And if we could beat them, my season's done. I'm happy. Stop the clock.
Well, we've got Palace coming up in a couple of weeks, and I was actually, in fact, the game after next, we've got Palace. And I was inviting a Palace guy on to do this to check if he was free. And he said, "I'll come on if you beat Brighton." So we might not. But just, and I've got a question there, and I've left it up because I want to come back to you before you go. But I also want to say there is this obviously great rivalry between Brighton and Palace.
Yeah.
And I know I have asked another Brighton fan this a few seasons ago, but I've got to be totally honest, I've forgotten because why? I mean, it's not like I could understand you having maybe another South Coast team, but you're nowhere near each other, really.
Yeah, well, it's a funny one because obviously Brighton, until Crawley got in the division fairly recently, we were the only Sussex club that's really ever been in the Football League or Premier League or any of the other incarnations. So we don't have any very, very close rivals. There's no other same city teams. Well, not professional anyway.
Yeah.
Portsmouth, there's a bit of a grudge thing with Portsmouth, but that's quite a long way along the coast, and obviously they've got Saints anyway. Palace, 2 things to say. It is actually geographically the nearest club to us in terms of, Crawley aside now. But before that, it was the nearest club. But the main thing is, it goes back to the 70s. You had Venables as their manager, Mullery as ours. They were professional rivals as players and in their early stages as managers. It was pretty nasty. It was the 70s. There was multiple instances of hooliganism. It was pretty nasty stuff. Bit too young to remember most of that, but from what I'm told, it was as bad as anywhere. And we were rivals between the divisions. So you had, I think, any London games are basically derbies in terms of the feel of it. Loads of fans will go to the game. In the old days when you could get a massive number of away tickets, we'd take whatever we're given. We're going to 5 figures if we were given the tickets for any London game. So it's always a good day out and vice versa. But it's a grudge match from the 70s onwards. Seagulls, although it's an obvious nickname for a South Coast club, that actually comes from Eagles. They were singing Eagles in a pub. We responded with Seagulls, which made everyone sound like they're all singing Seagulls when we started singing that. And it was a response. They were called the Glaziers, and we were called the Dolphins originally. Both ridiculous nicknames. So
not the Dolphins. I live in Poole, and Poole Town are known as the Dolphins. But,
well, fair enough. Yeah. But
Terry
it goes back to then, and it's been pretty spiky ever since, really.
I know it's a lively competition between you. But Terry says, during the game, which of the Leicester players did you worry about when they had the ball?
Well, apart from Vardy, obviously. I think I was worried about Ndidi because I think he's a great player, and I think what he could then create for whoever else. I know he did end up scoring one of the disallowed goals, but what he can create for others, I think his role within the team and how that could dictate the play was what I was most worried about, rather than the actual goal threat itself. And I think Maddison, even though he's had a moderate season, I think, hasn't he, so far?
I think moderate is building his part up to be a little bit bigger than it is. Not had the best of starts. Like, let's just put that. Not had the best of starts.
Yeah, you know what it's like, though, bogey players. And I just Vardy and Maddison are the two you think, And we were worried about Iheanacho when he's coming off the bench because he's a great player. I really rate him. He's a good player. So those are the ones probably, I would say.
And Gullerton Fox here finally just says, Brighton have a nice balance to the team. Don't know what depth you have in the squad.
Yeah. Yes, it's good and bad in terms of we got. I think we've got coverage in most areas. The only issue is strikers. I said to you on my podcast that's the area where we needed really one more player in, and we didn't get him. Connolly's blown hot and cold, and the two that started are great. They're fine, but we don't have anything particular beyond that. But other than that, the strength and depth is good. I mean, at the moment, we've got Webster out, we've got Lamptey out, we've got 3 or 4 of the peripheral players who either just come back or they're out. And what we have got is Tony Bloom, the chairman, the owner. He's been building this. This is a long-term project, being done the right way within FFP, getting up the right way. And he's been building not only the stadium, but one of the best academies in Europe in terms of facilities. He's now just opened a new one for the women as well, attached. And he's pumped tons of money in, and he is really committed to development. Our academy is brilliant. I think we're second in the league behind Man City on goals scored in the 23s. I think we're quite high up in the 18s. The women's team are top of the table after 2 games, and obviously the first team's in fourth in the Premier League. That's really the fruits of the labour of what's gone into the academy is starting to really blossom now, and we've got a lot of good talent. Loads of it's out on loan at the moment. 3 or 4 of them are in the squad for us this season for the first team. We've got strength and depth in that regard, I think. In terms of oven-ready players, I'd say moderate. But I do think we've got some really, really good academy players, and you never know with them. They could step on and become a story this season. You never know.
Yeah. Terry's great praise for you indeed. Terry says you're a gent, and if Terry says you're a gent, then you're in. You're in, mate.
Cheers, Terry.
Thanks very much for coming on. I'm going to go off now and have another bit of a rant, so I'll let you go. I won't put you through that. Just remind everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, well, we're on Twitter, Brighton Rock Pod. The main podcast itself is called Brighton Rock Podcast. It's on all the available platforms. I don't do anything internet or any of the other kind of formats like yourself here with the TV, doing the visuals. But it's just purely in audio form. But yeah, any good platforms and a few bad ones as well, probably.
Brilliant. And just a hint, just turn your flag round next time and have it the right way round.
Oh God, I thought it was doing it the other way because I've got an old iPad. I was going to use the iPad, and it does the thing where it turns it around. Yeah, and I ended up having to put it on the phone. So now, of course, it's the wrong way around. Lovely. Thanks for telling me at the end.
Well, yeah, that gets us back. That makes me feel a little bit better, But Russell, hey, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks for being honest. It hurts to say, but well done for the 3 points. I hope Brighton do well, although the fact that I said I thought they'd go down, I hope they do well, because I like to see teams like Brighton do well and teams like Newcastle struggle. It's nice to see the big boys struggle occasionally, isn't it? So thanks so much, and we'll hopefully maybe do this again later in the season. We might get you in the cup again, but definitely for the return fixture at the KP, and I'm sure we'll do you that time.
Absolutely. On both counts, probably.
Yeah. Thanks very much, mate. All the best. I know you've got a show to go and do yourself now. So thanks so much for coming on. Stay safe, and speak to you later in the season. Cheers. Thanks very much. Take care. Oh, thanks to Russell there. Great guy. He's honest. I could see he's very much like me. If we get into the position where we look at a decision and go, yeah, if that had been for me, I would have been claiming that. Then that's the best way. But look, I'm going to have a quick chat because Cullerton Fox has just made a quick point about the game, and I'm going to bring that up in a minute. Yeah, so what we're going to say, like Aka said right at the start, I will accept losing if we lose properly. But that aside, looking at the season as a whole so far, we've had some great times under Brendan since he's taken over. 2 fifths, 2 European places, and an FA Cup win. It's great times. Cullerton Fox here says, just a slow start, Chris. I mean, when you look at what we managed last year with everything that we went through, as in COVID, as in players being a little bit naughty and us having to drop them, injuries, I mean, let's be honest with you. I was on Talk Sport, and I did say that Christian Fuchs has signed into the Hotel California when he signed in for Leicester, because he's never going to leave. We're never going to allow him to leave. But for those of you Eagles fans will know what I mean there. But we were picking players here that, in fairness, wouldn't normally play, and yet we managed to be top 4 37 weeks. Both, if you put the 2 seasons together, I think we're only out the top 4 3 weeks or something like that over the last 2 seasons. And we've always been the team, the unexpected team that's been up there. The spotlight's been on us, and we've been having to look over our shoulder at who's coming up behind. And obviously the first time that happened was when COVID broke out mid-season. We didn't come back from that very well at all. And I want to go, what do you guys think? Because, again, last season, we started off well. Maybe, I mean, we're sat at the moment, we're sat down there, let me just get the table up, in 12th position at the moment. We've won, lost. So we've lost 3, won 2, in what is a fairly easy start, apart from Man City. West Ham was annoying because they'd done that to us twice before last season, so we should have been learnt from that. But this season, you've got Brentford. I like Brentford. I think they'll do the Sheffield United out, the 3 that came up, and will stay up and be quite high. You've got Brighton up there, Everton and West Ham, all 3 teams that are quite a few points above us, and maybe they will attract the limelight, the news, etc. So maybe this season, when Leicester are coming from behind, rather than looking over our shoulders, maybe that's the way that will work out better for us. Maybe we'll do a Liverpool. And the problem is, I don't think we'll break into the top 4, because you need one of those, the big 4, to drop out. I can't see Chelsea doing it. Oh, Man City, they've been form, but we know Man City will come. Good. Chelsea, they're going to be up there. Liverpool are the one that may or may drop out. But whether we can take that or not, I don't know. But I think we can still get 5th or 6th. I think we can still get Europa League. But we're going to come, let's say, this time, rather than holding on, having that position and holding on to it, this time we're going to try and have to wrestle it off somebody else. We've got the squad now. We've never had the squad depth. We've got the squad depth now. We made some great signings. Daka, Sumari, Vestergaard, Bertrand. There's some great signings that we've made there. Lookman, he looks to be amazing, no pun intended. So we should, we've made those signings. We've got the squad depth. Worry is that we've had a best, an easiest start with the squad, with the team. Sorry, the teams we're playing, and we've not done well. That is my worry. Cullerton Fox, you say here, start to kick on now. Well, we said that a couple of weeks ago, and it hasn't happened. And it is a long season. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Blah blah blah. We all know that. Cullerton, you're saying losing Wes was a big hit. Defensively, I don't think so. I really don't. He has been immense for us. And if you walked in this room now, I'd be on my knees kissing his feet. I love the guy to bits. Don't get me wrong. But at the end, he was past his sell-by date in terms of playing. A couple of possible own goals in a couple of games when he came on for us, a few times towards the end. That said, he was a big miss in the dressing room, and I don't understand why we haven't snapped him up. Maybe he wants to have 6 months off. Maybe he wants to go and be with his family. And my God, he deserves it. He's earned that right. But we should be getting him back in some sort of coaching role ASAP before somebody else snaps him up. These days you have 5 defensive coaches, 10 attack. You have all these different coaches. What he can give to the youngsters, and including the Fofanas and etc., is the advice. So let's get him back in ASAP, please. But like you said, defense is an issue, and is not the team's confidence. You then went on to say that you think you'll start to kick on now. I see where I was reading from the bottom up there, Cullerton. Defense has been an issue, certainly with the injuries, but we had injuries last season. We've got to maybe accept as well is that it's not always going to go all our way. And I don't mean decision-wise, I just mean games in general, And if we were to finish 7th, 8th, 9th and out of Europe, is that the end of the world for Leicester? Scott, question on the upcoming fixture against Millwall. Would you honestly be bothered with beating them and freeing up space to compete in other competitions? Do you know what? Last season, I was quite happy that we lost to Arsenal at this stage. Is it round 3? I think we're in. I'm just reading the notice there. Sorry, Cullerton. I see what you mean. I'll come on to that at the moment. Terry says here, he puts it quite succinctly, you can stuff the Carabao Cup for me. Do you know what? I used to like the way Arsenal used to do it. And it was their youth teams games, if you like. Do you remember years ago, right? We've got a squad of players. Danny Ward, Kieran Dewsbury Hall, Daka or Nacho, all these players, Luke Thomas, that may or may not get runs in the first team. Years ago, you'd have a reserve team where they'd be able to go out and they'd keep the fitness, they'd play together so that when they came in, it wasn't a complete, you're playing with this team you've never played before, because they'd already played with a couple of the players. But somebody at the FA, as usual, some gentleman who plays with himself decided we don't need reserve teams anymore. We're going to get rid of the reserve teams. Why? We've now got players sat around doing sweet FA, and when they come on, they're not necessarily match fit or not used to playing with the players that they're now got to sort of pass the ball to, etc. So I think we will see. I think we will see a lot of the youngsters, a lot of the squad being used. We've got this squad now, and you can't go to Samara, you can't go to Daka and suddenly say, or Nacho, and suddenly say, "Oh, I know you're not played for 6 weeks, but we need you in the team this weekend." Or, "Oh, I know you're not played for 6 weeks, you need to come on for the last 15 minutes. So, to be honest with you, I hope we do well in the Carabao Cup. It's a competition. If we get knocked out of it, I'll be disappointed that it is to Millwall, because can't stand Millwall. We remember Millwall, don't we? I just don't like them as a club anyway. I'm not going to lie, but that will be disappointing if we go out to Millwall. But let's give the youngsters, let's give the not regular first teamers a chance of a run out, shall we? I think we can do that. Terry, my wife comes from Derby, and now the events over there remind me of when we were in administration. So I'll only worry if we start to go the same way again. Never say never, unfortunately. It happened once, it nearly happened twice. And I mentioned this the other day. I don't like Derby for obvious reasons. I don't like any other Midland club, to be honest with you. But I don't wish any club, even Derby, and Coventry is my big hate, but I forget about them because they're down. And then we've got Villa. I don't want to see any club go out of business. And we've got to remember how other clubs were with us when we had the tragedy with Vichai, and it transcended football. So as much as I would like to see Derby playing in the 4th tier, I would like to see them playing in the 4th tier as a full and proper run football club. So I hope they can sort it out. We've been there. We've got the T-shirt. We know what it's like. I wouldn't wish that on any fan, because it's the fans that suffer in the end. It is the fan that suffers in the end. Cullerton Fox, yes, I know. I've just had a little bit of a rant about Big Wes, and it was Little Wes that you were going on about. I still actually stick by what I said about Big Wes. We need to get him in somewhere on the training staff, on the coaching staff, because he has a lot to give, and we shouldn't be letting that go anywhere else. We should be keeping that. Little Wes, yes, of course he was a loss. Little Wes was that exception when you get a player in, and he wasn't designed. He'd come into the development squad, hadn't he? He wasn't designed that he was going to be playing as much first team football as he did. But with the COVID situation, with all the injuries that we had, the Christian Fuchs playing more games last season than he'd played in the previous 4 put together, he had to. So, and it was this, it was one of those, throwing the baby in the water, seeing the sink or drown. He didn't. He was thrown in at the deep end, and he swam superbly. So yes, he is a big miss. The problem, of course, is you then got Johnny Evans, and Johnny Evans is a miss because he's now the big Wes, if you like. He's got the experience. Let's hope Vestergaard can do that, because Soyuncu needs somebody like that next to him. Good evening, Turf Morehouse. How are you? Thanks very much, mate. Welcome along. Do get over to Turf Morehouse TV. And Dan, we're going to be doing a show together every month. Our monthly review show will be me and Dan. God help us. It'll be like Morecambe and Wise. I'm not sure which one of us has got the short, fat, hairy legs, but I know both of us could do with the wig. Only those of a certain age will understand that. So, September's the next one. Make sure you watch it when we do our monthly review. So thanks for coming. And also, congratulations. Dan went on a pub crawl. He says it was for charity. These Burnley people, if they, any excuse for a pub call. If I did a pub call, I'd never get out of the first pub. I've got to be honest with you. But apparently he survived it. Rich, good evening. Rich from Rich Sports. Thanks for popping in, mate. Tell me, Rich, I'm really interested. I don't know whether you've got time to pop on or not, but I've been having a pop at VAR. You may be surprised to know. Apparently, Manchester United had a little bit of trouble with VAR. I didn't watch the game, and I didn't see you on Match of the Day too. What was your problem with VAR, Rich? Let us know. And if you want to come on, I can. Let me, in fact, tell you what I'm going to do here, just in case you can. If you can't, it's fair enough, because I know we've all got shows to do. But I'm going to put the link there for you. So if you want to come in, because like I said, I do know. Well, I saw this earlier. Where are we looking here? Because apparently everybody, VAR better. PL Chiefs thrilled with VAR despite controversy, with United and Leicester fuming. How can it be better? Okay, Richard says he can't join. I understand, Rich, no problem. How can you're going to start me off again, Rich? You've started me off again. I like this one. Let me just get rid of this. You're stirring it here, Terry. You're stirring it. Can you and Dan review Arsenal's August goal of the month, please? Oh dear, Terry. Oh dear. I do like it. So where exactly were we? What were we talking about? Let's get the comments back up again. Rich was saying the problem was we should have got a penalty. Well, You'd be Brighton. You get penalties when you're not supposed to. Did I say that out loud? Scott says here, Chris, I agree with what you say towards the youngsters and probably not our starting 11 players. More games that will still have the FA and Europa League to compete and bring those players in. No, I respect you. I respect your view there, Scott. You know, you're a regular presenter here. I do respect what you say. I wouldn't use the Europa League as the second string for second string players game. I say second string, but you know what I mean for the non-regulars, because we've got a chance to win the Europa. I know we're joint favourites and we've got Napoli and we're in the group of death, blah blah blah. But I want us to give a good shot. We went out of the Europa League last season with a bit of a whimper, so the Carling Cup is the one. And I know, you know, under O'Neill, we kind of sort of, it was our way into Europe and we were grateful for it. And Man City seemed to like it. It's almost like the rest of us having a playoff to see who plays Man City in the final. But no, I wouldn't risk just that sort of squad in the Europa League. Possibly in the FA Cup, but definitely in the Europa Cup. But no, if we went out, I would be disappointed only because it would be going out to say to Millwall. Rich says here, Arsenal replacing that with Pass of the Month. At least there will always be one. Indeed. Can't the kids go into the Johnson's Paint Trophy? I don't even understand that. But you know, we've got the squad now. There's no excuse, guys. We've been screaming for years and seasons. We need the squad. We've got a decent squad now. Let's see what we can do with it. I am pinning my hopes on the fact that this season we're gonna come up from behind rather than be looking over our shoulder to see who's coming up from behind at us. We've got Burnley next after Millwall. And as Turf Moorhouse pops in, we will be doing something together. We'll be doing this in a week's time with Dan from Turf Moor. I don't know if I'm confident about beating Burnley. I mean, Burnley have had a horrendous start. Lost, drawn, lost. Not a good start, Dan. But hey, it gets your manager a 4-year extension. Funny one, that. But anyway, you've got him. He's there. And we will be talking about that next Monday. But we'll be at 9 o'clock, I think, on Friday or Thursday on your show. Guys, thanks for joining us. Don't forget, you can watch this back on YouTube, Leicester Till I Die TV. Please smash the likes and give us a sub if you haven't subbed us already. And give me 10 minutes and we will be bringing this up on the old podcast platforms. So you can watch us you can listen to us in glorious stereo on Amazon, Spotify, Apple iTunes, Google, Podcast Addict, Anchor, to name but 6. We're all over the place. We, like Margarine, we spread ourselves about a bit. I used to love Marge. She was a lovely woman. And we will be back tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, with the Caribou Cup preview show. Me and Craig at 7 o'clock. We'll be talking all things Millwall then. Terry, great show. Thanks very much, Terry. Turf Moorhouse, cracking show. Can't wait to be back on. It's I can't wait to have you back on. I mean, that's a bit worrying. That is a bit worrying. We are like the two naughty schoolboys sat at the back of the lesson, me and Dan, brothers from another mother. I know which one of us should have been drowned at birth. Cullerton, thanks very much. Great show, Chris. Appreciate that. Smash those likes, guys, if you're on YouTube. If you're not on YouTube, get over later and smash the like then. So, 7 o'clock tomorrow. We are going to be talking, like I say, Millwall. We're going to be fingers crossing that we can maybe get past them this time, because we didn't. The big question is, of course, how many windows on the fans' buses will Millwall be able to smash this time? I think it might be a few. See you tomorrow. Stay safe. Thanks very much for watching. Good night now.
Matt Elliott here. Be sure to watch Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and follow all their social media platforms for all the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.
Come to an end. But the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share and get involved. Join us next time.